Blessings and welcome to the Path to Freedom, this beautiful, wonderful, magnificent, powerful path that we get to walk, where we get to set ourselves free to shine, to soar, to glow, to be in ever-expanding peace and love and joy and harmony, to forever allow for greater and greater expressions of whom we are to emerge with ever-increasing ease and grace. So this is a beautiful path. This is a beautiful path. And I'm very happy that you're joining me, that you're choosing to tune in for a moment of expanding our consciousness and raising our vibration so that we may set ourselves free, so that we may transform, be renewed, reborn by the renewing of our minds. So the topic for today is when we change, everything begins, or actually when we begin to change, everything begins to change. And this topic is inspired by conversations and a common theme that seems to be emerging in individuals' lives. As I'm having conversations with clients and students, a common theme that is emerging is how these beautiful individuals, the work that they are doing in beginning to change the narratives, in beginning to shift their perceptions, to begin to turn their attention toward what they wish to experience as opposed to what they don't wish to experience, to turn away from complaining and bemoaning and regurgitating and whining and all these things that is so normal for us humans to do. And what these individuals are sharing is that as they are beginning to do this work, and as they are beginning to change, it means that their relationships begin to change. Their spouses, their partners, their friends may not necessarily be on this path. And so where they used to experience a sense of closeness, a sense of intimacy, a sense of partnership, they're now experiencing more of being alone, of isolation. And we need to understand, as the beautiful and very powerful principles of transformation remind us, we need to understand that, first of all, the first principle, that if we want anything to change in our lives, we need to change. The second of all is that unless we change, nothing is ever going to change. And relative to this topic, the third one, that reminds us that when we begin to change, everything begins to change. So in other words, we cannot walk this path, we cannot do this work within ourselves, within our consciousness. We cannot allow for the releasing and letting go of that which no longer serves to happen, for healing to happen, without everything beginning to change within us and in our external conditions. And while this may seem scary or feel scary, as one individual that I was having a conversation with, they were saying that they are not sure that they want to be on this path anymore because their relationship, their marriage is falling apart. As they are growing apart, as this individual and their partner, as they are growing apart, their marriage is falling apart. And this individual, she was having doubts as to whether it was worth it. Whether it was worth it to be on this path, to do this work. If doing this work means that their marriage falls apart, that their marriage ends or dissolves, she was not sure that this is worth it. And while we absolutely never know how anything is going to turn out, us doing this work, we are doing it for ourselves, absolutely. But as we are doing it, we are absolutely affecting, inspiring, uplifting others. They may not be aware of it, they may resist it, they may say, this is not for me. You can do this hocus pocus. You can do this. You can walk this path, but I'm not gonna join you here. And so there may be a dissolution happening, but they might as well say, oh my goodness, I love the peace that you are. How can you be in such a high vibration? How can you be in such joy, in such peace, in such harmony, even when things are swirling? My dear, please tell me, share with me. What is it that you are doing that allows you to move with such lightness through the world, with all the things happening? So they may or they may not choose to get on this ride with us. Either way, we always get to trust, as the conversation that we got to have in this session. We always get to trust that this loving presence is all there is, that it is always for itself, that it is always expressing itself perfectly. So all is well. So something wonderful is always happening. So everything is working for the highest good. We get to trust that, even if it means that structures are crumbling, even when it means that old relationships perhaps begin to dissolve. Because ultimately, this is an inner calling that we are saying yes to. And there is a price to get on this ride. We cannot be on this ride hoping, wishing that everything will remain the same. We cannot be, we can, but that's not how it is. We can hope, we can wish that we could change, but everything else would stay the same. Our relationships, our marriage, our families. But the truth is that it won't. It can't. I've been on this path for many years. None of my friends from back then are still around. We don't speak the same language. We may have surface things in common, but we do not have the same life perspective in common. And I'm having no judgment about them being where they are or me being where I am. I'm merely observing that where we used to have so much in common, now we have pretty much nothing in common. So our ways have parted. And in the beginning, this was such a lonely path for me. This was such a lonely path for me. I felt as though I had no one to talk to about this. And I know that I'm not the only one having this experience. But eventually, as we begin to change, everything begins to change. So eventually, at some point or another, we will find ourselves being moved, guided, and led to form new relationships, new friendships, to join into new communities. People will, by law, be moved around, divinely orchestrated, divinely designed for our benefit, for our mutual benefit, so that we can support each other. But in the beginning, it seems as though in the beginning, this needs to be a lonely path. That the work that we need to do, that we need to perhaps do it by ourselves, on our own, initially, to build the consciousness, to build the muscles necessary, because we cannot ride in the wake of any other individual. We can be inspired, we can be empowered, We can be uplifted, they can show us the way, but we need to do the work, and we need to walk the path. And perhaps it is a part of the growth process that we are alone in the beginning. I've talked to so many individuals that are having the same experience. I haven't talked to all individuals, so I don't know. Maybe it's not universal, but it kind of seems like it. Anyhow, anywho, we are wise to be prepared that saying yes to expansion, saying yes to walking this path, means saying yes to everything changing in our lives. So we're wise to be forewarned that this might be, that this may be, but still all is well. Still something wonderful is happening. Everything is working for our highest good and for the highest good of all individuals on this path or not. So we get to trust that, and we get to go, and we get to move forward with confidence, with trust, with poise, with gratitude and appreciation that we get to, and that we are able to walk this beautiful path of freedom. All the while holding a loving space, holding those who are not on this path in a high space of unconditional love and compassion, allowing them, setting them free to be who and what they are, where they are, without asking anything of them, demanding anything from them, without withholding anything from ourselves, or without holding anything from them in ourselves, so that we may move in integrity with our hearts and souls. This is a beautiful path, and for all the shifts and changes that I have moved through personally, I would not trade 1 second. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would do it exactly the way I did it. That is, if I could go back to the consciousness where I was. And I don't know how to explain this. If I could go back with sort of the choices outlined and the choices that I made, I would make them all over again. Even through the messiness, even through the crumbling and dissolution and the falling apart and all of that, I would do it all over again, because I absolutely love where I am today and who I am today. And I absolutely love the people that I'm surrounded with. Such a beautiful community of individuals that are walking this path right beside me. We are walking it together. We are sharing it together in such a beautiful and absolutely magnificent way. So I would not change one thing. I would not change one thing. So the invitation really is for us to be aware that when we begin to change, everything begins to change. On every level, every aspect of our lives will be affected by this work that we are doing, this inner work that we are doing. And that we trust. That's the second part of this invitation, that we trust that even in the midst of turmoil, even in the midst of changing, of shifting, of swirling and moving, crumbling, dissolution, all is still well. Something wonderful is still happening. Everything is still working for the highest good. So that's the invitation. And as a question that we can ask ourselves is, how can I be as loving and kind towards myself as possible as I'm moving through these spaces of changes? How can I be as loving and kind towards myself as possible? So thank you so much for tuning in, for participating, for the work that you are doing for yourself and for the world, for this planet. I appreciate you very much, and I appreciate the work that you're doing very much. So until we meet again, I absolutely bless our days, and I bless our ways, knowing once again that all is well, something wonderful is happening, that everything is working for the highest good. With much love, many blessings. Namaste.